Hello. The problem is you have been facing confusion whether to write in present tense or the past tense. So let me explain this shortly but in details in this video. See, these are the sample questions from your midterm. The first question is, discuss how skillfully Milton shows the fall of human race through the fall of Adam and Eve. Now, for example, you will start writing your answers from here. Now, for this question, for example, discuss how skillfully Milton shows. You see, Paradise Lost is a text which is still in present tense because this text still exists. So this is one thing. But the story that has happened in this text, that has already been done. So, for example, if you say that Paradise Lost, so is one of the greatest work of Milton. Okay, so here I'm using present tense because Paradise Lost is one of the greatest. It is still one of the greatest works of Milton. That is why this is in present tense. But when you write, for example, how skillfully, so Milton with his wit and playful words portrays. So here I'm writing about Milton. So this can be in present tense. But for example, if I write that Adam and Eve was sitting in the Garden of Eden. You see, this sentence, when you write the answer, this has to be in past tense because Adam and Eve was sitting in the garden. You cannot write is sitting in the garden. You cannot write present tense over here. Okay, because Adam and Eve, they were sitting in the garden. This has already been done. That's why you have to use past tense, present tense. Same goes for example, here, entry of, for example, you're writing a short note on entry of Satan into paradise. Now here you will write that Satan enters into paradise. Here, if you use present tense, then all through you have to use present tense. For example, Satan enters into paradise by taking the form of a snake. Okay, for here, this answer you can answer in present tense or in past tense. But if you're using present tense, then all through your answers you have to use present tense. But if you're using past tense, all through your answer you have to use past tense. So for example, Satan enters into paradise by taking a form of snake. Then Eve enters into the garden. Adam stays lonely. You see here I am writing all of these things in present tense. Now what you cannot do is you cannot mix it up. For example, here in the first sentences you're writing Satan enters into paradise by taking the form of a snake. Then if you write then Eve enters. So here if you write that then Eve entered, then this will be wrong. So here you have to write enters. Or if you start this whole thing in past tense, you have to continue in past tense. For example, if you write Satan entered into paradise. Okay, Satan entered into paradise, this is past tense. Earlier, Eve got separated from Aram. Okay, so this is continuation of past tense. So as you have started writing in past tense, go for the past tense. So the thing is, you cannot mix the two. For the story of the text, you have to either use in present tense or you have to write in past tense. You can use either of them, but it is better to write in past tense. But for example, for the introductory sentences, for example, when you're writing about the author, for example, you're writing about Paradise Lost. So Paradise Lost is one of the greatest works of Milton. This will always be great. This will always be a great text, and this is a universally accepted work of Milton, which is great. That's why this is in present tense. So don't mix up the past tense and the present tense. I hope I could clarify a little.